it's Wednesday, so you know what that means. Yes, it's time for Mr. Nailsin's Wednesday Comics, which means I look at comics that are not in the public domain. Some of these are fairly new, like recent published titles that I've read. Well, I don't have any of those. I went back and forth about what to do. I think I want to do maybe a whole show on some of the facsimiles of comics that have been put out, which apparently to this day do very well because old is better. Now, some of these are really old, but it's a cool thing. There's an old Batman comic, but it's reproduced exactly as it was when it came out in the 40s and all that good stuff. So it's fun on that part and that kind of thing. But probably do an overview on that. Want to do some on X-Men from the Marvel Masterworks series that they did with the reproduce the old runs of those comics in a little digest format. Yeah. And the problem there is recently there was this, apparently they're gonna stop that series. They had all these different titles and runs of old comics, and I think it's stupid, but I guess maybe they'll just go with the omnibus, which can run you over $100 a book, but it's a thick book of comics and whatnot. But nevertheless, the Masterworks would I don't know, I guess maybe 10 issues or something like that. But it's all in chronological order and everything, wonderfully reproduced. And I did do one just on the Fantastic Four and their first adventure together and all that stuff, and might follow up on that on the second volume. And then there's a couple I got on X-Men and that sort of thing. And I was looking forward to doing more. And they're still available here and there, and I guess I'll snatch them up. But some of them, as I understand it, they end before the actual storyline is completed. At least put out the ones that wrap up the plots that were going through the series, because that was the thing. The comic books very much, especially Marvel, became these soap operas. So a lot of storylines and threads would filter out even when the initial plot or what have you might be over in one issue, and then all the threads would carry on in the next one, and then it'd be some other, bad guy shows up to trouble the hero or whatnot. And some of them would go on for a couple of arcs with this particular villain and that sort of thing. And to cut that short in the middle of it is just rotten. And they were just on the edge of getting to some of the more popular runs with Thor and the Fantastic Four themselves. Now, with Fantastic Four, you got Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, the original run, which is, of course, that one's popular. And then, there's a few others tried their hand at it. And it wasn't until John Byrne took it over in the 80s that it hit a whole new height. So that's probably, the second best run of Fantastic Four. And he stayed on that a while. And there's already collections of that. But it would have been cool if they just kept that series going. But that's that. They're not gonna. So I'll get back to the ones I have and probably do something like that. And of course, current comics, but more and more I keep thinking, why? There's some good ones, especially DC Comics is doing much better now, but the indie comics are just so much better. And Ghost Machine and Mark Miller's Miller World comics, those are they're really the two top-notch publishers going on at the moment. Meanwhile, this will go into the past of one of the stories that got me into being a very serious collector. I would buy a comic here and there when I could. I was a kid, didn't have a lot of money, so on and so forth. Secret Wars is the story that really drew me in, and a good bit of that was because of Spider-Man's costume turned into the black costume. And hey, what's that about? I want to find out. And all of that. And then through reading those, I found out about Hobgoblin, and that became quite an interesting mystery and story. It doesn't end well, but boy, it was a fun ride while it lasted, and was sucked in. And then that, other comics got back into DC and all that stuff, and it was great. But at the time in the 80s, the Spider-Man titles was numero uno for a good while there. And the Hobgoblin story was my favorite. I always thought Green Goblin was cool. I knew Spider-Man and Green Goblin stuff from the cartoons, the old 60s one, and then the Spider-Man and his amazing friends. And didn't fully know the whole story until I got into the comic books and detailed all of that. And then there was this interesting take with Hobgoblin later on, and so it opened a whole new world of comic books for young Doug. Yes, it did. Hey, Thompson. All right, let's get into this. So here we have the cover. Now, for the most part of the Hobgoblin story, it was an Amazing Spider-Man story. Spider-Man was so popular, they gave him a second title called Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man. Eventually, they just called it Spectacular Spider-Man. It's a long title. You can understand it. But nevertheless, two different titles, and yet they would cross over with one another. However, for the most part, especially the Hobgoblin story, you didn't need to read both. And in fact, Hobgoblin appears in this issue, 85, and he doesn't show up again until, I don't know, 100 and something. I can't remember the exact number. I have it somewhere. And that one is a bit of a flashback story. So for the most part, he's kind of exclusive to Amazing Spider-Man. But quite a bit of the same storylines. His current girlfriend is Black Cat and all this stuff. And that would go back and forth from the two titles and so on. So, it's obviously the gimmick is, hey, you got to read both. You don't want to miss out on all the details of Spider-Man. And for the most part, it worked. Of course, at the time, I was very broke, so I didn't get them all. And stories like this, I had, when I finally discovered back issues and stuff, managed to look back because I missed all of this. When I came into it was, the black costume days. And I was introduced to the mystery of the Hobgoblin even before he even showed up in it. And so I said, now I'm all intrigued. I got to find out this story, and eventually collected them all and then realized, oh, there's this one. And it's a very significant story for a Hobgoblin. And so in the past few takes on this that I covered, of course, he's this mysterious guy. You don't know who he is at first. And he's come into possession of Norman Osborn's old Green Goblin stuff, and he creates a new identity of Hobgoblin. And while he's robbing all of Norman Osborn's old secret hideouts, Spider-Man confronts him, and Spider-Man beats the living crap out of him because Spider-Man is so super strong, and Hobgoblin at this point isn't. He has all the gadgets and stuff, and he just barely manages to escape. And he realizes, how the hell did Norman Osborn do this? Well, he hadn't gotten deeper into Osborn's journals yet. So he discovers the Goblin formula, but, he's no idiot. So he wasn't going to try it on himself because the formula is what damaged Norman Osborn's brain and drove him crazy. And Hobgoblin is smart enough to realize, hey, that's a fatal flaw. And so he tests it out on some henchman, Lefty Donovan, that he hired. And just watched to see what would happen, and ended up killing the guy off, But he said, okay, it works. But how's he going to get the super strength without going cuckoo? So that's what this story will detail. So here we are. Here's our mysterious Hobgoblin in his civilian outfit, and he thinks he's figured out how to do this in a less explosive manner, because typically, like Norman and Lefty did it, you mix the chemicals and it explodes in your face. Well, he didn't care to do that. So he was trying to find an easier way to take in this formula that gives you super strength. So here we go. In this issue, one of the spectacular Spider-Man's deadliest foes is about to become even deadlier. Stan Lee presents The Hatred of the Hobgoblin. Now, does this mean that Hobgoblin's hatred and his hatred of Spider-Man, is that what this is about? Or is it people who hate Hobgoblin? It could go either way, you know. Tonight is the night. Soon all the power possessed by the original Green Goblin, all that and more, shall belong to Hobgoblin. Somewhere, someplace, computers channel chemical currents inside a huge vat. Somewhere, someplace, evil is a-borning. Probably should have said it was brewing. Yeah. So here we have Bill Mantlo was the regular writer on there. Of course, Al Milgrom and Jim Mooney, the artist. But here they put the line in: we would like to express their indebtedness to Hobgoblin's creator, Roger Stern, for his gracious plot assist. So, of course, they had to, what can we do? What can't we do? And it's interesting, again, like I said, this is where he gets basically his superpowers. He didn't have them just yet. But nevertheless, they decided to put this story in this title rather than Amazing Spider-Man, which Roger Stern was writing at the time. So, I don't know. They just went this way with it. So, I mean, maybe it was time constraints and the other stories he was telling with other characters that didn't involve Hobgoblin, that kind of thing. I don't know. We do not know. Yeah, I don't either. His name. Well, I know his name now, but at the time we didn't. We have never seen his face. He is a cipher seething with menace and mystery. Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, was insane, but methodical in his madness. He recorded every aspect of his criminal career. His journal entries are exhaustive. Fortunately for me, his journal has survived his death. Let's see what it says. Best way to able the formula to be viable but harmless. But well, I guess you really got to be in the know, and I guess Hobgoblin is. I can't decide for most of that. Anyway, from them I have learned how to duplicate the things that made the Green Goblin a force to be feared. His hidden hideouts, the deadly weaponry, and his bag of tricks, his goblin gliders. Yeah, the goblin gliders got to be the best thing. I mean, I remember watching the cartoon and stuff and all that and thinking, man, somebody's got to figure out how to make one of those. And of course, it's not going to work. But, as a kid, it would be cool. But, yeah, I don't think that's good. And now, tonight, the secret source of his super strength. The journal suggested how dangerous the process could be. Yeah, it blew up in his face. And how foolish I would be to test it on myself first. So I found a guinea pig and left Donovan, a second-rate criminal, in my employ. Under hypnosis, Donovan synthesized the goblin's formula with rather explosive results. Donovan's every pore became permeated with the powerful potion. For weeks, Donovan lay burned and comatose in a hospital. Monitoring him from afar, I saw what his doctors could not. He was recuperating at an incredible rate, as the chemicals he'd absorbed energized every cell in his body. Finally, Donovan regained consciousness, and following my post-hypnotic command, rose, dressed himself in a spare Hobgoblin costume, and challenged the Amazing Spider-Man to battle. I observed all, observing especially how powerful Donovan had become. Oh, yeah, how about that, huh? As powerful as the original Green Goblin. In fact, possessing power enough to take on even Spider-Man. Having learned all I needed, I terminated the test and left it Donovan. Yeah, he splattered him against the wall, But, well. And now the world, with the possible exception of Spider-Man, believes the Hobgoblin to be dead, which is fine with me. It leaves me free to bide my time so that I can perfect Osborn's formula, eliminating its explosive side effects. Tonight, I shall achieve that end. At the click of a button. See, he's pushing it. Click. Waldo's mechanical arms extend into the seething vat and prepare to add the final ingredient. Huh. A Slurpee? I don't know. And pours the pink stuff into that snot. Anyway, a chemical reaction causes the frothing fluid to glow green. Oh, it is time. I shall pass through this membrane, and my life will change forever. So he gets in there, and then he suddenly realizes, holy crap, I can't breathe. Oh, thank God he remembered to wear his tighty whities. So he's floating around. Danger, danger. But now he can read the journal. Caveat. The potential exists for even greater power, perhaps equal to that possessed by Spider-Man. But continued experimentation has led me to the conclusion that prolonged immersion in the fluid can cause possible psychological side effects, leading even to madness. I guess he didn't read that part, maybe like when he got inside the draft, flipped the pages over, and he was just too lazy. Now he's floating around. Minutes pass, perhaps too many minutes. Danger, danger, danger. But, well, then he breaks out. I don't know. That kind of makes it look like it did explode. Too long. I stayed in the chemicals too long. But I'm alive, unharmed, and more. I can feel my body bursting with more sheer power than I could ever have conceived of. I've done it. I've become as powerful as the original Green Goblin. Maybe even more powerful. But the only way to test that theory is to defeat the one foe the Goblin could never defeat himself. Thus, tonight, the Hobgoblin will destroy Spider-Man. And there he is on his handy-dandy backglider, And I guess tonight he means that evening, because I don't know if he was going to get all dressed up and then change back into his clothes and go home and wait for the later in the night. But anyway, he was trying to avoid the explosive effects, but it happened anyway. And he says, oh, I stayed in there too long. Well, then why didn't you leave? And he messed up his whole setup and everything. But, well, he only intended to use it once. So I guess he figured, hey, look, this will be fine. What's the worst that could happen? So I skipped over some stuff, copyright reasons and all that. But Spider-Man was hanging out with some friends, most notably Harry Osborn. We discover his wife's pregnant. Stuff like that. Flash Thompson's there looking all depressed. Mary Jane's around, And then Peter's like, oh, gee, I got to get back to my current girlfriend, Felicia Hardy, the black cat. So he does. And as touched upon in the previous issues on this whole narrative, Black Cat barely survived a fight with Dr. Octopus, and she's been recuperating in the hospital. She's back home. Her mother's been looking after her and all this stuff. But she wants to get back in action and go be with Spider-Man, of course. But, well, he's just coming by for a little visit, So anyway, I hope you didn't catch anything communicable perched out there with the pigeons, lover. Well, maybe a bit of a chill, cat. I know, just the cure for chills. Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat burglar par excellence, or at least she was. Her love for Spider-Man set her on the straight and narrow. That path led to their war with Dr. Octopus and to the cat's near death. But she survived, and their love burned strong. Remember when I was in the hospital and Doc Ock was after me? Lover, you were about to take off your mask. I thought I was going to die, Cat. I didn't want there to be any secrets between us. And now, die, schizophrenia. It cuts both ways. So previously he was talking about he had to keep his life separate from his friends and everything. So the image there was Spider-Man keeping Peter Parker separate from all his friends, and most notably Mary Jane, who he's still thinking about and all that stuff. So anyway, okay, I can wait. Cat, I do love you. I just can't let you know who I really am. And I love you, my beautiful masked stranger. Care for dinner? Soon. Good. Tell your mother I said so. So they go out after that, they have a little dinner and, she stirs him all up, you know the deal. And so they decide to go out swinging on rooftops, stuff like that. And Black Cat, saying, no, I'm good. I'm fully recovered. We can go do it and all that stuff. And he's like, well, I'm all right. Well, since I can't talk you out of it, come on. All right. Cat Cable unwinds from beneath a fur collar. Yes, she's able to keep this whole gimmick underneath her fur collar and perhaps between her mams, but still, Anyway, web line slings from hidden web shooters. Yep. They are Spider-Man and the Black Cat together. Well, yeah. Yeah, Spider-Man's, looking at that like, oh my God. Oh, geez. Oh. So anyway, I've never known anyone like the cat. And what are the odds? She's thinking sort of the same thing. I've never loved anyone like I love Spider-Man. So there you go. They're having their little date. But then here comes, the cock blocker, otherwise known as the Hobgoblin. So, they were having skipped a page or two and they were having a little chit chat and stuff. And then suddenly here comes the pumpkin bombs. And she's like, what? Because she's never met Hobgoblin, although he's been talking about him and stuff and all that. So anyway, hurled by that hell fiend, the Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin, a killer cat, maybe deadlier than Doc Ock. Stay back, I'll protect you. No, wait, Lever. I'm going to prove I'm worthy to fight by your side. Yeah, this is another thing, especially after she nearly died in the fight with Dr. Octopus and all that. Spider-Man, he likes having a girlfriend who can go out, with him on the night and all that stuff, but it's so dangerous. He's like, I don't think you should be doing this. And she doesn't have any superpowers. So a lot of these elements sets the stage for her story that goes on and ends up breaking them up eventually. But, So here he steals some stuff from Batman. But, of course, Batman, you should have thought of that backglider. That would have been a cool thing for Batman to have, but too late. So anyway, here comes the Batarangs. Lovers, are you? In that case, my dear, you shall certainly die by his side. Oh my gosh, Cat, look out for his razor bats slashing my costume. Yeah, I'm sure that's just a coincidence. He didn't want to strip you naked or anything. But if I can just keep rolling forward, I'll have a good shot at... No! Oh, did my little sparkles stop you? I would have expected Spider-Man to have chosen a more resourceful lover. Go limp, Cat, I've got you. I'm all right, Spidey, just winded. You're weak, still recuperating. I was crazy not to stop you. So he plops her on the rooftop. Rest now, Hobgoblin's mine. The gas ghost drifts lazily, lethally downward. So this is another weapon Oh no, I dove right into it. No. But the web slinger is ready. So he's able to web up this crap to trap that gas goblin thing. I was wondering when you'd show that fright face of yours again, Hobgoblin. What happened? Couldn't find another dope like Lefty Donovan to die in your place? Donovan served his purpose. Now I shall personally destroy you and your lady. Think again, killer, while you're choking on your own ghost gas. Ghost gas. Tonight's the night you start to pay for your crimes. Tonight's the night I make you pay. Spider-Man's speed, skill, and agility make him practically unbeatable. Were I to rely on my gadgetry alone, it's even possible he could defeat me. Well, yeah, he already did. It's kind of like, what are you doing wasting your time on that crap? But anyway, the purpose of my attack this night is to test my newly acquired super strength. There you go. He rips off a chunk of that building and throws it at him, Protect your lady now, Spider-Man. Wally! Hobgoblin ripped the stonework from that building with ease. Now he's hurtling it at us as if it weighed less than paper mache. He's never displayed that level of power the first time we fought. Somehow he's made himself as strong as the first Green Goblin. Well, yeah, remember Lefty had the strength, so he figured out how to do it. Okay. Cat, get behind me. Spidey, no, don't protect me. I want to help. No, I said behind me. This is no romantic adventure, Cap. Stay out of the way. No. So she gets him smashed up against the wall there. So ordinarily, the wondrous wall crawler's spider speed and agility would have enabled him to easily avoid the crashing cornice. Ordinarily, he would not be looking out for the black cat. Ordinarily, he would not be failed. We stand on equal footing now, Spider-Man. Only I am far more ruthless. You hurt my lover, monster. Now feel the claws of the cat. Ow. He's too busy not paying attention to her because he's like, I whooped his ass. Yeah. The cat cable is tossed with unerring accuracy. Its claws hook fast the goblin glider with unsettling results. Oh, damn it, that bitch. Oh, down he goes. So when a lady's got good aim, swat, who needs superpowers? In your case, my dear, they might have helped postpone your imminent demise. Hobgoblin's not even hurt. He righted himself, and now he's soaring at me. Cat! Cat! Get your slimy hands off of my lady, Hobgoblin. Oh, gee. No. Anyway, I skipped a few more pages here. She's still trying to be a part of the team. He said, just stay out of it. Let me deal with him. And Hobgoblin's able to take advantage of that as they now collide with one another. So now, cat, Spidey, look out! The Hobgoblin's right behind you. Oh yeah, he got hurt and he was faking it, playing possum and waiting for the Hobgoblin to come at him, and so it fooled the Hobgoblin. But Cat didn't understand that, and so screwed it all up. Spider-Man sought to snare me, but the cat sprung the trap too soon. The fools, they are their own worst enemies. Now, while they stand dazed, Hobgoblin shall away to return and fight another day. Spidey, we beat him. I could have had him, Cat. You're blaming me for losing him, aren't you? Oh, instead he's getting away. But I only leaped in to save you. Doesn't that count for something? Goddamn stupid bitch. Jeez. So, yeah, this sets up the things of what leads her on a path that ultimately destroys everything she had hoped for. Now, uh, but without superpowers, how are you supposed to, you know, tag along with Spider-Man on stuff like this? Well, you can't. So, poor Black Cat. She was trying. She still, as we go, is cat shit crazy, but nevertheless, she's making a good effort trying to, be with him and all that stuff, trying to help and all that, and it doesn't go well. And of course, Spider-Man, particularly with Hobgoblin, it sits on his head or lives in his head a lot more than the other villains because he feels responsible that he didn't clean up all those Osborn hideouts. And since he didn't, well, this is what you get. So there you go. That's the story of how Hobgoblin got his super strength. Oh, yeah. So that's what he did. Sooner or later. Well, he figured it out. And I guess it worked out for him, for a while anyway. So, hey, good on you, Hobgoblin. I guess you feel like you're really smart now. A. Thompson says, hey, Doug. A. Thompson's Dominic got in trouble on Karmic Stream. Karmic banned him. I miss him. You can do what you want, Thompson, but I don't care about the Karmic Stream. That's enough of that. Gino's hammer. I like the Hobgoblin in the 90s show. Yeah, that's right. They did that. The Batman animated series beats all the superhero cartoons. It was the best of the best. The Superman was all right. It's kind of a distant second to that. But the Marvel ones weren't really on par with that, but they weren't bad. They were pretty good, and they had their soap operas in them, and they did a fairly decent adaptation of the comic book stories, both Spider-Man and the X-Men. So they they made an interesting choice because Hobgoblin was the more readily known, I guess, amongst the comic book readers at the time that the cartoon was made. So they introduced him first, and they did Norman Osborn becoming Green Goblin second. They did it that way. And they went with Jason Macendale being the Hobgoblin. He wasn't. He isn't. But, he was the Jack-o'-lantern. But they used him to be Hobgoblin in that series. And, for what it was a good series. It was, a lot of fun. And they eventually get to Norman Osborn becoming the Green Goblin, just kind of ass backwards, but it all worked out. They did some things, different here and there. They did do a Secret Wars story eventually, but they opted not to. So when they got to the black costume, they just did it better than the movie did, where it was just something. They connected it with John Jameson being an astronaut. And so the symbiote alien thing was in the space shuttle when it crashed, and Spider-Man had to go save him, and then he comes in contact with it. And then they go with that. And added a little more to it to where the symbiote's already taken over his mind, making him more violent and taking over his personality and stuff like that. They didn't really do that in the initial story. He just didn't realize that when he went to sleep, the costume would take him over and take him out for swings during the night. And he would always wake up, it's as if I didn't sleep at all. Well, you kind of didn't, So he was sleep swinging with what became, Venom. Eventually they get there. But that's how the cartoon decided to do their take on the Goblins story, if you will. Did I? Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah. No. Why didn't it put it on there? I'm trying to figure it out. Okay. Oh, yeah. I know what I got to do. That. Okay. Okay. And I will eliminate that. And here will be over this, which should enable super tips to appear. Let's see here. And it's not doing it. It should. Oh yeah, I forgot. I gotta. Always forgetting. Always forgetting. If you forget, it doesn't work. Yeah. Okay, let me try this again. No, and not. Oh, there it is. Oh yeah, I got to do it like that. But still, oh yeah. There we go. I think that will work. Let me try a longer one. There we go.
Gee whiz! I've noticed Pat has been a little surly ever since he quit smoking. I hope he takes my advice and sings a show tune to get in a better mood.
Shapoopy, shapoopy, shapoopy. The girl who's hard to get. Shapoopy, shapoopy, shapoopy. But you can win her yet. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, di, do, di, do.
I said remove. Man. There. There, it's now visible. That one.
Wanted to say hello before I go to sleep. Here are a few shekels to get you started tonight.
Yeah. All right. There you go. That should work. Hey, Thompson, what happened? What do you mean? Just that? I was just figuring it out to get it to work. You know, it takes a little doing. I had to switch out. The last time it did this, there was some sort of delay in it with the camera and stuff. And so I was expecting the same thing, but seeing my hands move, there's no delay. So I don't know. I guess I'll never figure this out, but whatever. I don't really need the camera other than for this. So, you know, I was doing a Nailsin News. Well, that's too big. Stream last time. And I've been cutting them up and making individual videos out of them. But I got to take the audio and then move it around to make it fit because the delay is such that my mouth doesn't match up with what the hell I'm saying. It's just downright annoying. So, yeah, it's one of those silly things. So, since I seem to have figured out, well, I don't think I figured it out, but it just, for whatever reason now, EV Mux works, but I just jump back and forth between them to garner up watch hours using Rumble Studio on Rumble, while I also, garner the watch hours from YouTube with either one that I use. So it all works out. And he was always drawn with fangs. So I was like, is he putting fangs on? Or is it like the mask has fangs and you got to like put your mouth into it? That seems damned uncomfortable, This is how I'm going to be a super criminal. So I got to put this crap in my mouth. This is what makes me powerful. If you say so. So, that's Hobgoblin. Always hobbing around. That's Hobgoblin. He's always just a hobgoblin around. That's what he does. We love him. We love him. But he just can't stop hobbling. I don't know why there was I kind of wondered if like goblins were one species, you know, and then the hobgoblins were another, and they probably didn't like each other and stuff. Even though, you know, for the rest of us, we really couldn't tell them apart. I don't know if it's like Spider-Man rolls where he's kind of a yellowish tone to him, whereas the goblins were all green. So maybe it's that, you know, could be a color thing. You just never know. Uh, because it turns out they didn't really exist. But, you know, somebody probably thought it through at some point. I don't know. And say, oh, well, you know, the hobgoblins believed in the divine puddle, but the goblins believed in the sacred pond. Something like that, you know. And, well, never the twain shall meet. So, non-stop war between the two, except for their shared hatred of humanity. You know, probably something. I don't know. And I think, yeah, they did do one. I picked it up because, you know, I'm a sucker typically for a hobgoblin, even though, you know, the story's done. It's long over. But they introduced another one. Then there was another guy had a whole different kit up, stuff like that. And then they brought back the old one. And that was somewhat interesting as I think they paired him up with the Goblin Queen, who was an X-Men, you know, villain, and she. So I always thought that would be kind of funny if they did hook up, if not him, the Green Goblin or something. But yeah, I don't know. It was so they were both pawns of some other guy or some bullshit. I don't remember. Uh, and Norman Osborn was suddenly a good guy. They were kind of once again ripping off the stupid storyline where Lex Luthor and Superman are friends, in the same way they did with Norman Osborn when they brought him back from the dead. He wasn't all that nutty, but he was more of a Lex Luthor type villain. Lex Luthor was never a crazy guy. You know, he was evil, but he wasn't crazy. Uh, Whereas Norman Osborn was. But when they brought him back, you know, he was kind of. That's pretty much what they did with him. Eventually, he goes crazy again. He's, oh, he can't handle it, the stress, whatever, makes him go nuts. But you know, I mean, I suppose they're like, what do we do with him? We just do the same thing we did before. Well, if you didn't know, what'd you bring him back for? And in a lot of ways, uh, Green Goblin was probably a more significant character dead than he was alive, uh, or just Norman Osborn himself. You know, and it's strange how that works. But well, like I said, it had its run, and all good things. And you know, I might as well just consider they, you know, moved on with another reality or what have you. Might as well. Where there it is. So act now while supplies last. You can get your Goblin glider. Um, of course, you have to have the Goblin formula. You got to have the cybernetic setups so that your brain can communicate with the operation of it. But once all that's done, you're good to go. You know, you just hop on this thing, and yeah, you fly to work. You don't have to put up with traffic or any of that because you're just flying over those guys. And you're like, look at you, you're stuck in traffic. Not me. That kind of thing. I guess it's up to the individual, but you might think that's worth it all. Of course, the other problem is you go insane. There's all kinds of side effects. That will, of course, be spelled out on the label. So don't even think about trying to sue the company because you were warned. So you pretty much sign away all your rights and stuff. But I mean, look on the bright side. For a while, you get this cool glider thing that you can throw your back out riding on. You know, so really don't want to hear any bitching about it. You know. Then, of course, as with all sales, they are final. Once the check clears, wipe our ass of you. That's the way it is. Nothing personal. We don't, again, want to hear any bitching about the product. Dun-dun-dun. All right. Yeah, see, for his Goblin glider, the original, of course, had that basically a bat's head, which again is like, DC had to be, damn it, why didn't I? Oh, damn it, we didn't think of that. Yeah. But Marvel did with their Goblin guy. So Hobgoblin just takes it and puts devil horns on it, the whole thing is supposed to be this Halloween themed type shit. So, hence, he says, well, I don't want to be just like the Green Goblin. I'm going to, wear an orange suit because that's like Halloween shit. So that's what he did. Yeah, see, I'm smart. And, yeah, I don't know, I guess. I don't know. And the horns in the position they're in, I thought maybe he could like ram Spider-Man with it and stab him. But they don't stick out forward. They're curved there. So he was, going for style, I suppose, and look rather than practicalities in the combat that he would be engaging in. Yes. So I didn't think, even though he's supposed to be the smart one, the smart goblin. But I guess he was smarter than some. Some of the other ones, Harry wasn't that great because he was nuts. Norman Osborn, of course, was nuts. And then Harry's psychiatrist, Bart Hamilton, who was like the third Green Goblin. Well, he was nuts too, And you can think, well, not too great of a psychiatrist to go nuts himself. But, sometimes is that all that surprising? I don't know. Can you really deal with that subject matter for that long and not kind of flip out? Not all. Some of them just like, well, it's a job, You got to have some amount of ability to be detached from it, I imagine. But in the case of Harry's psychiatrist, he was just like, wow, these stories about the Green Goblin are fascinating. I almost wish I could be the Green Goblin. And then, well, that's what he did. Yeah. And add some shadow for the bat. Maybe like that. I don't know. Yeah. Oh yeah, he probably has a shadow over here, doesn't he? So that's yeah. So next up, I'm trying to remember where it goes. I think oh yeah, that's when he starts amping up his blackmail schemes that he does for Hobgoblin. And because turns out Norman Osborn knew a lot of secrets from some of the movers and shakers in the business world and stuff. And then this Hobgoblin reads all that and thinks, "Wow, look at this!" And so starts blackmailing prominent members of New York society and stuff. And I think that'll be the next one. And ultimately leads to a major confrontation between Spider-Man and Hobgoblin, of course. And then on to Secret Wars at the conclusion of that. Uh, One of the things it does reference in the journals that he says, "Oh, I'm reading here Norman Osborn had a plan to try to discover Spider-Man's secret identity." And he was like, "I wonder if he was successful." Because Spider-Man was worried if that was in there. But so the timeline of the story would suggest that once that story happened where Green Goblin discovers that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, he kidnaps him, brings him to one of his secret hideouts, and then reveals that he's Norman Osborn to him as well. And then they have a fight, and then there's an explosion, and Osborn is severely injured and develops amnesia about being the Goblin and knowing who Spider-Man is and all that stuff. So that's the setup they had. Eventually, you're like, well, how can they keep that going? Either he's just permanently lost the knowledge, and he just goes back to being another villain for the series. But instead, there would be these incidences where he would regain his memory, become Green Goblin again, and then Spider-Man goes, "Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit," and then he would bonk his head or another explosion or whatever, and he would forget. But eventually, it's like, well, this ain't gonna last forever. They could have done it where the amnesia is permanent and kept him going, I suppose. But ultimately, they went with the. It results in killing off Gwen Stacy and all that, and then the Goblin dies in the follow-up. So that's where they went with it. And even though it was, a very distinctive detail for a villain that was saying, well, we could just do a story somebody else puts on the suit, and which is what they did with Harry and so on. And then they brought him back. I mean, I can understand, want to cast aside popular characters, or even when they're villains, but I don't know. I didn't think it was handled well. It's not that it was so ridiculous. I mean, that ultimately they thought he was dead, but turns out there's regenerative properties to the Goblin formula. So while he was, on the slab in the morgue or whatever, he wakes up, and his wounds had healed and that sort of thing. So they do all that. And, it's the comic book world, all this type of stuff. It happens all the time, So. And then eventually it's all revealed that, Norman Osborn was the Green Goblin. He's got to go to prison for a while. Then he ends up being the leader of the Thunderbolts, then the leader of the Dark Avengers, and then he goes back to prison after that. I don't know what else they did, because just didn't care to keep up with all of it. Which is unfortunate, I admit. But, well, these things happen. What happened? Is the stream over? Oh, it's back on. Did it disappear? Let me check. Come on, turn on. Yeah, I'm on. Oh, let me check YouTube. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There it is. So I don't know. Did it just wink out all of a sudden or something? I would be very upset. So very upset at circumstances such as that. Um, well, so there's Hobgoblin. Oh, there's Hobgoblin. Oh, there is a delay. Now there is one. Weird. It's only a few seconds, but it's there. Doesn't really matter when it's just my hands. Yeah. But that is a factor. So probably will do more when I use Rumble. I want to keep up this routine of going back and forth. And do more, perhaps drawing streams through this one, and it won't really matter about that delay because it won't matter that my face is out of sync with what the hell I'm saying, It's a thought. Of course, who knows? By tomorrow, I'll think, I don't want to do it like that no more. Who knows? All right. Geez, I still didn't get it all. It's not that great either. I apologize. I don't know why I made his diapers so like they don't fit. But I did. Well, part of the problem is I have difficulty concentrating on the art while I'm talking about stuff. So that's a problem too. I guess I need to do some where I just play the music or something. I've done a couple of those. And I draw. And then when I'm done, then I can go back to chewing the fat, about whatever the hell it is I'm talking about. And perhaps that will work, All right. Let's see. What did I mess up here? All right. Okay. And I'm assuming I'm going to color this at some point. And maybe this will be part of a thumbnail for the future issue, which I believe will involve the aforementioned blackmail story. Let's see here. Do that. There. Da da da. Doodle dee doo doo dee. Da 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 da. All right. So he's a rootin' tootin' hobgoblin. And really put the kibosh on Spider-Man's night out with the cat. Yeah, he was quite the cock blocker that time. Huh? He just had a good old laugh at that. Ah, no puss for you tonight, Spider-Man. Ha. Ugh, I just screwed that up. Oh well. Again, these things happen. All right, there he is. I'm Hobgoblin. That's what he calls himself. So what are you gonna do? You know? I don't know. All right. Oh, we'll check the super tips. Nope. All right. Well, thanks for hanging around and watching me read a Hobgoblin story and then draw the Hobgoblin. And we'll do it again soon, I guess. No, we will. And that's just what'll happen. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I don't really need this right there. We'll we'll meet you again later. You know that's what's important. Where is my? There it is. All right. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll do it again soon. And I'll talk to you then.